Hey there, Internet. I'm here. Oh, man, that screen's gonna mess up for me all week. We are here from the Codename Entertainment offices here in beautiful Victoria, British Columbia. Chris Dupuy, the live services manager of Idle Champions, am here to chat with you for the next 2 hours. Hey, we got the background working again. Because my awesome cohort, Dylan, is out sick today. So he's got the office bug today. And so we get to hang out, which is a lot of fun because hopefully I'll have some spoilers, talk about the release on PlayStation 4, the upcoming release on Xbox, as well as an awesome interview that we have slated for the next hour. We've got Aaron M. Evans, the author of the Brimstone Angels novel, with us, and we'll switch over to that now. Hey, Aaron, are you still with us?
I am. Hey there.
Hey, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate even more that you're joining us because you're actually on vacation right now, right?
I am. We're visiting Joshua Tree National Park. So I'm out in the desert. It's beautiful and peaceful, and the internet is not amazing, but...
Which is why we are audio only today, and we don't get to see your awesome emotes as you get excited about things.
What picture are you using, out of curiosity?
I am using a combination of Freedos and your author bio picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I mean, the picture is so old, but I don't know that anybody else appreciates that my face doesn't look like that anymore.
Yeah. We had a different one, and you updated to that one. I was like, all right, the other one looks more like you, but that's fine.
It does look more because that one I think is from like 2012. And I've had two. Well, I had another kid, and one of them turned into a maniac. And but the one you guys originally picked was my Facebook profile picture, which was my look. I got my hair cut, and the lighting's not the most flattering from my perspective. But it did remind me I need to take a new author photo one of these days.
There you go. Yeah, you got to update it every once in a while. So. Aaron is here to talk to us about Freedos. We are focusing this week on our idea of Champions Play Champions. We are releasing on PlayStation 4 and Xbox this week, and with that release comes a whole slew of new players, and they may or may not be aware of all the awesome champions that we've added to the game. So we wanted to spend a week talking with the content creators that have created these characters so we can give those newer players an introduction to the characters and give hardcore fans of that character an opportunity to really pick your brain on some really cool info. So we got a couple of questions queued up. And for those in chat, if you have a question specifically for either Aaron or Freedos, or you have a question about the books or anything, just go ahead and send it our way. Our lovely producer, Erica, is collating all that for us. And then if you have questions for me, send those along too, and we'll talk about that game-specific questions in the 2 o'clock hour. All right, so first things first, I am playing the game on my PlayStation interface, so I've got to get Freedos. Oh, I don't have enough gold for Freedos yet. All right, so we'll build this formation and get it ready for Freedos. Do we want Diath or do we want... I'm just going to talk to myself for a second.
That's cool.
So we'll get Diath instead of... Oh, maybe we'll just run Dadius. It is Dadius's events. Let's run Dadius. And Jarlaxle, and Naeli, and Celeste. And for those of you that are wondering why Celeste looks so weird, this is the Undead Celeste skin that comes with the new Founders Pack that we released this week. It's a $19.99 price point, available on all of our current platforms, and you get the $50 chest bundle, so 42 chests, as well as a whole slew of contracts and potions, and the Undead Celeste skin, as well as this awesome new familiar that Kat worked on, Iris the Beholder. So we're going to go ahead and assign Iris so she'll hang out. And yeah, let's get to the questions. Hang on, let me clear this notification. Wow, we already got a bunch of questions. Let's see. So Aaron, what would you think your Brimstone characters are up to now? I really want to know what the girls and their bows are up to. Do they become Harpers? How is Mayhen? And yes, even Lorcan.
Okay, so I promised someone on Twitter that if a question involved spoilers, I would warn you. So plug your ears or whatever, cover your eyes if you don't want any spoilers. But I mean, the books have been out for a while now, so I think it's fair to answer. I think that there's an excellent chance that Farida becomes a Harper. Although she's not always the best at following rules just to follow rules, which fits with the Harper ethos in a certain way, but probably drives the boss man crazy. I suspect Bryn and Havilar just go adventuring. Mehen probably sticks around in Jared Thymar, helping govern despite his his other tendencies not to care about that sort of thing. In the end, he has to help out the people he cares about. I always said if I wrote a second series, it would be one in which Farida makes a new deal with Asmodeus to sort of become a bounty hunter for the Hells in order to protect Bryn and Havilar's children from the Brimstone Angels curse. So she has to go find bad people who have outlived their usefulness to Asmodeus and take them out. Because I think that would be another kind of entertaining extension of her sort of general moral quandary of like, how do you be a good person and do good when the people who will deal with you are really quite evil?
Mm-hmm. That's super interesting. Yeah, I'd love to see that. Bounty Hunter Farida. Let's see. All right. Is there a plan? Ooh, this is a good one. Is there a plan for a book 7 or other adventures of the Brimstone characters?
That is not that I know of. The nature of working on shared world fiction is that it belongs to the company who owns the IP.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is entirely up to Wizards of the Coast. And right now, Wizards of the Coast is sort of put their novels on hiatus, and they're trying out some different ways of doing it. So if that's something you really want, then Wizards are the people to talk to.
So everyone should
tweet
just
at or something.
Yeah, tweet at Wizards _D&D.
I'm sure that will get real annoying real fast.
That's how change gets made. Everyone just bugs
that's how
people.
things work these days, right?
Yeah. Let's see. A note from Arkan Sunseeker. Afternoon. I just recently bought the three Brimstone Angel books, and I loved them so far. So
thank you. I'm glad you like them.
Yeah. Let's see. Next question is, what does Havi think of Fairy's fame? Seems like the other twin always gets overlooked, and I can't see what she would be, where she would be happy about that.
I think it probably drives her crazy. I was talking, but originally they had sort of suggested that I do this interview as Farida, and one of the points I made, and I was telling you this earlier, is that Farida is very private in general. She doesn't sort of want to talk about herself. So I've sort of avoided doing this sort of thing, either written out or spoken. But it occurred to me it would be really funny if instead of being Farida, I was Havilar, her identical twin sister, pretending to be Farida, so Farida didn't have to do this. But the problem there is Havilar would give crazier and crazier answers just because it would be entertaining. And eventually she would get so mad that she is not in this game because it is all about monster fighting, which is, most of Havilar's raison d'etre. That she would totally blow her cover complaining about that aspect. But this is easier and it works better because I don't have to, you can't see me, so you can't see me pretending to be them. But I think too that it does like Havilar, I think in the world of D&D, Havilar and Freedos probably have approximately equivalent values of fame, although Havilar has managed to help out at particularly critical moments. In Fire and the Blood, there's a sort of a flash forward, and she gets to be in a painting in the Palace of Cormyr, which people have written to me mad because Havilar got that and Farida didn't. But in the meta version of the real world, she's seething. She is seething that you guys didn't put her in this game to fight monsters because she's way better at it.
What I'm hearing is we need to have Havilar in the game, so then you can come on and speak as Havilar for an hour.
I'll just do like a Parent Trap thing where I jump off camera and then I jump back. It would be easier because they're identical twins, so you already have a lot of our assets.
Just have you switch profile views. All right, mental note. Havilar for Aaron hilarity. Let's see. Question or statement from the .dk. Hi, Aaron. Just want to thank you for writing the story of Freeda. I picked up the books when she joined the game, and I'm halfway through the last book.
Oh wow, that's awesome! I'm glad that people have found the books through the game.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a nice opportunity. Like, you play this game, it's this fun little game, and you don't have to dive into like lore stuff, but that you have that opportunity. I like that aspect of these like kind of tie-in connecting D&D games like Idle Champions.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really speaks to the depth of the game, because not only is there depth of strategy, there's also so many different champions and characters, and all of them, or most of them, are pulled from other source material. So Dadius the Scarlet was a character in Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. Freeda has the whole novel series. You know, Dritz and the Companion's Crew too. Celeste is from the Neverwinter MMO. And if you're super into a character, there's opportunities to explore that more. And that's actually one of the quality of life updates we're looking to incorporate next year. Is not only do we want to have an in-world bio tab, but I also want to have a player-facing bio tab where we talk about the other avenues that you can go to interact more with this character. So for Freeda, it would be talking about the Brimstone Angel series and the Ludia game when it gets released, because she's a character in there as well.
I didn't know about that. That's cool.
She's in the Ludia game. Yeah, Ludia has Warriors of Waterdeep, and it's currently in soft launch in Canada on Android devices. I played it. It's pretty fun. But yeah, nice. Freeda's in it. They just announced Calliope, our foul-mouthed bard, is going to be in it too. But yeah, that's the cool thing about Wizards branching out and doing all these different trying all these different ways to tell stories, that you can follow your character along from different mediums, and that's really cool. But I love that the players that are introduced to her in our game can go to the novel series and just really drink from the fire hose and have a ton of fun with her. Okay, this is a great question, and it's something I would probably talk to you next year about. But if there was an alternate skin or look for Freeda, what would you like to see?
Ooh, that's a good question.
What we've been trying to do with some of our characters is some of it's lore-based skin, some of it's just having fun. Jarlaxle has for our anniversary celebration, for our 1-year anniversary, we put out Party Time Jarlaxle. He's got a party hat and a balloon sword. We did.
Oh, that's cute.
We did a pirate skin of Brunor. We did an undead Celeste skin, and we even did a skin of Minsk wearing a giant Boo costume. So we're having a lot of fun.
Part of me is like, you skin her as Havilar and just keep the same powers, because it would be sort of amusing to that. It's actually funny because the outfit she has on right now is the cover from The Adversary. And it is not what she normally wears. In that book, she is she's kidnapped by a Netherese wizard and made to sort of help him with his nefarious experiments and such. For reasons that are complicated and vaguely spoilery. But anyway, it's one of the outfits he offers her to wear. It's the most tasteful one. That's why she chooses it. And it looks cool, but part of me is like, I feel bad for her, because every time she's depicted, it's in this outfit that she would be deeply uncomfortable in. So normally she would wear kind of like basic rough and tumble leather armor, because in the books, so Freeda and Havilar are the adopted daughters of a dragonborn warrior who was outcast from the major dragonborn society in Forgotten Realms, is Timanther, and so they're not well off, and they do work as bounty hunters, but basic normal bounty hunters. And so what they get is sort of like the armor that you can afford. And so it's a little piecemeal. It's like secondhand. And she usually wears like like a cloak with a hood, because there are definitely a lot of places where you don't really want to be a tiefling walking around getting attention. And so she has this, she like covers up in this giant hood that's big enough to go over her horns, right? The other thing I know she's worn is when in Fire and the Blood they go to Cormyr, and for various reasons she has to deal with the court in Cormyr, and she's given a dress to wear, which she also is not super comfortable in. Frida would like to wear practical clothes that cover her and don't make people look at her very much.
Poor Frida, she just wants to hide in the corner.
Kinda, but by the end of the series, I think she's a little more self-assured, we'll say. But so Fire and the Blood had, when they came around to do the cover, I said, because you know, previous cover artists, the cover artist is actually creating something that is going to catch your eye and make you want to pick up the book. And so, you know, I worked as an editor, and I've talked to editors who are talking to art directors who are talking to artists, and it's easy to watch authors kind of get a little like, I want it to look exactly like this. It's like, no, honey, that's not your job. And so, you know, I tried to be really, really easygoing about it, but there have been a couple of times where the artist, I didn't give enough information, and so the first Brimstone Angels cover, which is this gorgeous Kakai Kataki painting, the first version of it, Frida, he had her in this like sexy wizard outfit that's basically just purple ribbons. And I was like, oh my God, that's the opposite of anything she'd ever wear. I should have been more specific. I was like, whatever color you want to make it, you know, whatever looks good, I'll just adjust the text. It doesn't matter. But I forgot to mention, like, she's 17 and she doesn't want anyone looking at her chest. So not that.
Yeah.
But you know, he fixed it and she's perfect, I think. But
oh, that's good.
So yeah. You put her in a bikini and she just like curls up in a ball on the screen. She doesn't do anything. That would be a terrible one too.
That's awesome. Well, we'll have to work together later next year when we're working on a Frida skin, so we can get her rough and tumble adventuring outfit right.
Or clown, whatever.
Or clown. Let's see. Sandineer says, I personally love Farida. She's one of the primary heroes in all my lineups. And that's what we're hearing from a lot of players. I think Farida is a main DPS on a lot of formations right now. So she's getting a lot of love. I have heard that.
That's pretty exciting. And I think in that, like, as much as I think as a character, she's very like shy and she doesn't want the spotlight. She's the hero of a fantasy series, so she rushes in and tries to solve things. So I think she would feel a certain amount of accomplishment and appreciation knowing that she is helping so many people.
She's gone on so many adventures, you have no idea.
Yeah.
Giant Dwarf, who, as a caveat, does want to see Havilar in the game, asks if Havilar has the opposite eyes. So Farida has the blue and the gold eye. Does Havilar have that same eye difference?
No, Frida has a complete heterochromia, so one eye is gold and one eye is silver, which is not silver. Weird colors for tieflings. Those are kind of, I mean, it's like having a blue eye and a green eye. And actually there is a point in the books where Frida is hit with a transformation spell that sort of like strips off the tieflingness and leaves her looking human. So she looks mostly like herself, but not a tiefling. It's a wizard showing off, but she ends up with one brown eye and one blue eye. And Havilar's eyes are just gold, and it's a weird thing. It's magic going crazy, but that's sort of one of the things in the book early on is that Farida, they grow up in this tiny little village in the hinterlands of Timanther where it's just like exiled dragonborn and tiefling, the people who are like have been sort of kicked out of their society and don't want to be found. And so they're really like the kind of the worst aspects of that you can imagine of living in a tiny little village. They're all up in your business. They're all like, you know, judging you. And in Farida's case in particular, everybody's waiting for her to be the bad one because there's her and there's Havilar. And if you have siblings, I'm sure you've had the experience of being, you know, being told you're the smart one or you're the pretty one or you're the one that does this activity. And once your sibling becomes that person, it's hard to tell yourself, I can be that too, right? And in a similar way, so Havilar is very outgoing. She's very athletic. She likes fighting and she likes traps and she likes hunting things. And Freeda is very quiet and she's more bookish and she's very careful. She's like always trying to keep Havilar from getting hurt. And then she has this extra weird eye. And so you have this sort of tieflings and everybody's always a little like, okay, well, when are you going to go evil, tiefling? And then she's also the one where you don't entirely know what you're thinking, whereas Havilar will just announce what she's thinking. Where Freeda seems to sort of be kind of creeping around the edges. And so everybody is basically waiting for Freeda to go bad, even though she is trying so hard to not only be good, but to protect her sister and keep her from bad things happening. But on top of that tieflingness, she has this weird eye, and it sort of, for the people she's growing up around, they're sort of like, okay, well, she's going to be the bad one. So obviously the gods have marked her. So she was very ready to leave home on a certain level.
Question for Freida. And feel free to not answer in character if you don't want to. I
will be her in between.
How does she like being an aunt? What are she and Doll doing when they have time to themselves? Sorry, I was changing that from third person.
Okay. This is another one that's a little spoilery, so plug your ears and go la la la. The end of Devil You Know contains a kind of a twist that I was originally going to save for a later series, and then when that later series was obviously not going to happen, I wanted to make sure I pulled the trigger on it. And the revelation that Bryn and Havilar have a child that they didn't know about, because devils are the worst. Which in the continuing story is a little... that's a difficult parenting situation if someone else has raised your child to the age of 7 or 8 and they only just found out you exist. So I do think that Freida, I like stories about magic and fighting monsters and saving the world from terrible shadow wizards, but I like to kind of put the sort of ordinary life issues in there too. I find the juxtaposition entertaining and illuminating. And so if I had written that second series about being a bounty hunter for the Hells to protect her nieces and nephews and future nieces and nephews or whatever, I think the other half of it would be Freida and the guy she ends up with, Doll, dealing with the fact that Freida doesn't really like kids. She doesn't hate kids, but she does not know what to do with kids. There's in the adversary, she interacts with some small children, and she's very uncomfortable. Whereas Doll loves children, and that I don't actually know how that would work out. So that would be fun to kind of dig through. I did a game for a convention called Gamehole Con. Which is I called it the Dragonborn dating game, but it was like a murder mystery where you were Dragonborn teenagers going to an Ash Day celebration, wherein you were kind of told, like, find somebody to make a marriage contract with, like, do you want to work out like a love match or something, like do that business now, and then us as parents will work it out. But one of the Easter eggs was having Bryn and Havilar's kids there watching a play, and if you kind of went through the crowd in a certain way, you would make them talk to you. So that's as much as I know.
Interesting. So do you think your interest in juxtaposing the fantasy storylines with more down-to-earth things, do you think that came from your evolution as a writer, or was that more after you became a mother?
No, that's always been what I'm interested in writing, and it's what I'm more interested in reading. I like magic, big magic, and it's one of those things where the first book I ever wrote was called The God Catcher, and one of the things when I was writing it, I was also reading a different Forgotten Realms novel called Mistshore, and there's a point in Mistshore where they swim down into Waterdeep Harbor, and there's like these like ships that are like sunk, and you can do something and they open, and it's just I don't remember all the details of it, but I remember reading it and going, this is what I forgot to put in. I need a big crazy magical thing. So there are the walking statues in Waterdeep, and in 4th edition they were all like frozen. They had sort of stopped, and the main character was living in an apartment building that had been hollowed out into one of them. And what I had is that she sort of either has a dream or sees it happen, that the walking statues can be awakened and give prophecy to people, because I thought this needs something big and magical, because that's missing. But I find that I really like characters, and I really like sort of exploring, like, if you were going to be thrown into a pact with a devil that you made accidentally, what are the pitfalls of that? And to me, that's sort of more interesting than just talking about the higher level thing of, you know, the sort of the big magic, the big quest kind of stuff. And I feel like it's the same way that the stories you tell, like, around the table when you're playing D&D, like, it's not just about, you know, oh, remember that time where we, you know, we defeated that weird undead monstrosity. It's also, hey, remember that time where we caught the wizard stealing a thing and we had to, like, clear it up for him. Or one time I made up a story about gnomish sexual taboos to protect our rogue, even though my paladin should not be lying about stuff like that. Like, that fun that, like, well, now we have a connection between us, right? How do you have this party and these friendships? You're not 5 randos walking through, you know, we joke about, like, murder hobos. It's not just like 5 randos going from encounter to encounter most of the time. Like, you start to have a dynamic, and I think that dynamic is a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're with a group for so long, there's not only the risk reward of, you know, what comes along with having these amazing powers, but there's also just those those stupid life decisions that people make that just turn into amazing stories.
Most definitely.
Let's see. Some of us have nicknamed our favorite champion Freedo, so that's a new nickname for Frida. Thank you for her. That. She's a fierce addition to the game.
So the story is that Farida is very, very loosely based on a character I played in a game when I worked as a novels editor for Wizards of the Coast. Mm-hmm. And my character's name was Farida, and she was a warlock, but she was a Fey Pact warlock, and she was, like, I don't know, she was like 28 or something. She was older. She wasn't. Farida starts the Brimstone Angels series 17, but at the end of it, she's probably about the same age as original Farida. And she didn't act the same. But when I came up with the book, I kind of liked the name and the idea of having a twin, because in that game I had a twin sister too. But one of the things that I always remember is our rogue was the art director, Matt Adelsberger, and his character was a drow named Phalar. And mm-hmm. Phalar would always call Frida Fredo Bandito. And so Frida would call Phalar Phaler. Nice. And it was a very fun game with some good camaraderie. And I actually ended up in Adversary. There is a drow character, and I named him after Phalar.
Ah.
But nobody calls him Phaler. But.
No. So was having a twin character something that came from this original inception of Farida, or have you always been interested in the twin dynamic?
It was from the character originally. I don't actually recall why we did. It was Susan J. Morris, who ended up being my editor, who was my twin sister. She was a rogue, did ridiculous damage. Oh my gosh, she really exploited all of the loopholes of 4E for that. And I don't actually remember why we decided we would be twins. But what I like about it for the novel series is it has that. I really like writing siblings. I really like writing sibling dynamic and how a sibling dynamic changes as you go through some major life stages. Mm-hmm. Because if you have siblings, you know, right, who you are to each other when you're kids is not who you are when you're, becoming adults, and you might have times where you don't get along at all. My youngest sister and I don't think when we were 4.5 years apart, and so I was always like feeling like she was way behind me. And now she's one of my very best friends, and I can't imagine not having her around. And so I really enjoy writing about that. And I think with being twins, on top of that, it sort of concentrates it. So anytime you feel like, you do that, I'm the smart one, I'm the athletic one, I'm the pretty one, whatever. If you were if there's not like an age gap there, I feel like it has to concentrate even more.
Sure.
Plus, it occasionally allows me to do wacky parent trap swap kind of stuff. Although it's usually because someone possesses the wrong twin or kidnaps the wrong one or something like that.
All right. Question from Funk Everett. I'm going to extrapolate a little bit. Question is, you were at Gamehole Con, ! And I will extrapolate a little. Are you planning on visiting Gamehole Con again?
I was invited to Gamehole Con last year, and I went and I had a lot of fun. And it was actually the first time I've ever run a complete D&D game. I didn't play D&D growing up, and I'm still very mad at all the people I know who should have introduced me to it. Although at the same time, I'm like, probably I got a lot more done than I would have otherwise.
True story.
Right? But still, I'm a little like, this was way up my alley. Like, instead of, drawing I shouldn't say doodle. I spent a lot of time on my fantasy art and writing books. Like, I could have been putting that to work in this kind of thing and sharing it with people and all kinds of greatness. But so I had run No Thank You Evil for my son, which is a great kids role-playing game.
Yeah.
And I had run one session of one D&D game and realized I was not very good at DM. I did not know how to DM very well because I was definitely running it like it was a book. So they said, we want you to come and we want you to run the game. And I was like, I have never done that. But I sat down and thought about it, and I was like, what would if people were going to sit down at my table, they're not coming because I'm an amazing DM, because I've just very much never done this. So will they come? Maybe they would come for Dragonborn stuff, because I put a lot of Dragonborn lore into my books and into the world of Forgotten Realms. And I do character stuff. So a game where you have to interact with characters a lot and meet a lot of people would be fun. And I like mysteries that explode into huge mysteries. Or huge reveals, and so it's got that. So yes, I ran the Call Contract Murders, which I still call the Dragonborn dating game.
Let's see. Mars2 says, hi, I can't stay long. I just wanted to come in and say that Freeda is my favorite character in the game, and all of my blacksmith contracts go to her every time.
Aw,
and again,
that's awesome.
That speaks not only to the character, but just that she's got some really cool abilities in the game. Her DPS is super awesome, and we're really happy we were able to align so closely to her.
Yeah, it sounds like she fits great.
Let's see. A strange question from I'm not even going to try to pronounce that name. Kovicrus? Apparently I am. From Kovicrus, who was your consultant for Sumerian? It's rare to see it correct anywhere these days. Thank you.
I'm glad it's remotely correct. I'm kind of a linguistic magpie. I love languages. I speak English fluently, and that's about it. I can read French mostly fluently, but I can't access it. And the part of the problem is I get really into a language, and then it gets a little bit tough, and then I find another language I'm more interested in. But I love ancient languages in particular, and so in the later books go to Timanther, and in 5th edition, the country of Unther, which is basically magical Chimeria, returns to what was otherwise Timanther's lands, and conflict arises, and certain ancient players make new appearances, and for some of that I needed to have Untheric, but the lore in Forgotten Realms is that the Untherans are actual Mesopotamians who were pulled through a portal by jerk-ass wizards who wanted them for slaves, and then eventually their gods figured out what was up and came through or sent like versions of themselves, avatars through. And so when I needed Untheric, I was like, well, what does Untheric sound like? And what does like original Untheric sound like? And I went for Akkadian. Which is I think it's Akkadian, if I'm remembering right, because there's a greater body of linguistic samples for Akkadian. And I have a book called Complete Babylonian, which is fantastic. And there's excellent websites that break down the grammar. And to be honest, I was on a writing retreat when I was working on Ashes of the Tyrant. And I remember I used like one whole day coming up with like a hymn to a god that was based on the original hymns, but pared down. And yeah, and so I'm pleased that it isn't wildly inaccurate, although I also know that the vast majority of readers won't notice. They're like, okay, dinger dinger, cool. But yeah, no, it is one of my absolute favorite things to I want to say waste time at in fantasy is making up languages, but I don't think it's a waste, because I think if you do it right, it breathes a little texture in.
Yeah.
As long as you're not making people read entire appendices in, your invented Draconic. Draconic, I didn't get a lot of leeway with, because there's already a Draconic glossary out there from way back, like in Dragon Magazine somewhere. So there's a lot of like, okay, does this word exist? Okay, it doesn't, but if I combine these two words into a compound word, that's a thing. And for time out there in Draconic, I shifted some things. I kind of extended some of the words and softened them, because I figured it would change some, but I kind of just guessed how it would change. Because I said so. It did that.
Let's see. We've got a question from Magisa. Great characters, Aaron. I love anthropology as well. Did your interest/degree in anthropology influence your writing, or how did it influence your writing?
100%. That is probably not, that is definitely not what I thought I was going to use it for, but I find that it's really helpful when you're creating fantasy cultures to sort of, to not just know about real world cultures, but to also be able to think about them as a living system, and something that's not just like, I'm going to take this detail, it's cool. It's like, okay, this detail is cool. Why does this detail exist? Why did people do this? And what pressures make that happen? Do those pressures exist here? How does that explain sort of a greater worldview? And I feel like, especially when you're doing something like when I did get to write about the Dragonborn, the Dragonborn had some like details that were laid down, but then it's a case of saying, okay, if X is true and Y is true, how do we expand out to make those things connect? For example, the Dragonborn come from another world called Abir, where they were slaves to the dragons, and then they get pulled over to the Toril, to the world of Forgotten Realms, and they're known for being, very friendly, and also for hating dragons, like, wow. And yet, in the world of Forgotten Realms, which is teeming with gods who will happily come down and explain why you should worship them, they remain atheists. And so I was like, okay, how do we piece all this together? So you have this idea of like the clan is a grouping of people who will work together to overthrow this tyrant of a dragon, right? Because the many against the terrible is really the only way you're going to do that. Which means everybody is a potential ally. So you've got like upfront friendliness, but at the same time, there's bits that say like, hey, there were people who stayed working for the tyrants. So anybody you meet is like maybe a friend. So you're doing like you have like the Seattle freeze where you're like nice, but you're not like buds yet. So I feel like the Dragonborn probably have a Seattle freeze thing going, a Timanther freeze going. And then the idea that like, okay, nobody helps them. No, there are no gods in Abir, right? So it's not that they don't believe in gods. It's that they're like, we can handle this by ourselves, right? And so like, and this is like fairly simplistic to think of as a culture, but that sort of idea. And then, okay, if those things are true, and now you have two Dragonborns interacting, how do those things push on them to shape their reaction, right? Like if the whole is important and you're moving against the clan, what does that say? Like how bad is that transgression? I think it's going to be a lot worse, right? And then it also just, and I say like, oh, don't just pick out the details, but sometimes, if you pick out the details and you move them far enough away, you can come up with something kind of cool. So like in my book, lesser evils, I have a villain who's based like on an evil form of Shinkibutsu, I think. I'm not looking at the words, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, which are these self-mummifying monks from Japan. So you have this terrible wizard who turns himself into, who transports his intelligence into a book and then turns his body into a horrible undead monster mummy that eats people.
That's a thing they do.
It wasn't in the monster manual, so I had to go off the hook.
Let's see. So got you for about 20 more minutes. I got some more questions to get through. But one thing that I forgot to start with at the beginning, and you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but for players that are just learning about Freeda or don't have her yet in the formation, can you give just a quick overview on who she is, what she is?
Oh yeah. So Freeda is a tiefling warlock. If you like alignment, I think she's neutral good. Oh, I like better calling her reckless good because she will do the right thing and not always go, wait, is this the best idea for my health and safety? She was raised by a dragonborn, so she has some dragonborn cultural upbringing. There's some point someone was saying, are they going to ask you like, what's your favorite food? And I couldn't think of it, but she eats scrambled eggs with lamb brains and Jared Symar and thinks it's pretty fabulous. So anyway, so she eats weird things, but and she has a pact with a Cambion, Lorcan, and the unfortunate attention of the King of the Hells, because she is unfortunately born into a tangle of issues that she can't resolve, or can she? So
okay,
hero rising out of the net of evil to tame it into place.
To be continued in the Brimstone
and put too much sugar in her tea.
Put too much sugar. Yeah, do you want to talk about that GIF a little bit? We had a lot of fun with it, but I'd love to hear the story.
I love that because it is a little bit of a deep pull. There's a point in the one of the books in Ashes of the Tyrant where this fella that is interested in Freeda, his brother is like asking him, like, tell me about this girl. And he doesn't want to tell him about this girl for various reasons. One, because it's his big brother who's going to just give him trouble no matter what. And one is because she's a tiefling and he's not sure how his family feel. And so his first round of answers is like, she has a twin, she's adopted, and she puts too much sugar in her tea. And they're like, what?
Third most important item. Right?
He's just like, I don't know, 3 facts. There's a point later where he tells his brother like 3 things he genuinely loves about her, but he does end up with, and I do think it's adorable how much sugar she puts in her tea. And it's just this weird little factoid. Like, I don't even know if she drinks tea I think she does. I think I remember having her drink tea in one of the books and like being able to put as much sugar in as she wanted and just being like, this is amazing. But it's just this funny little thing. And so when you guys were like, well, what's a funny thing she could do? And it's what sprang to mind that she does this. She has this weird little quirk where she puts too much sugar in her tea. So I love that GIF. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Especially because you watch how much sugar she's putting in. It's like, how are you going to put tea in there too? She's making like simple syrup in her teacup. I love it.
Yeah, Alexis cut it perfectly. It keeps going and going. And for those that haven't seen that, if you want to check out our Twitter feed at Idle Champions, we'll post that GIF either now or towards the end of the stream, because it's hilarious. And so feel free to steal it and use it whenever you want to note that someone is just sitting there doing their thing.
Yeah. I love too that the one where she's brushing off the shadows, because one of the things that warlocks had in 4th edition was that they when they did something, I think they got concealment. And when I went to write it, I was trying to figure out how to describe that, because it's sort of like a mechanical thing that doesn't come across in the narrative very well. And I made it so that when she gets really like like, oh my God, we're in a fight, kind of like fight or flight mood, that she starts to like leak this sort of shadowy smoke stuff. So it's hard to tell where exactly she is. But the problem is that even when she starts to get nervous and like embarrassed, it does the same thing. And so like there's points, like there's one part in, I think, Lesser Evils, where they're going into this party to like find out some information, but Farida was of course like been put into this dress and that doesn't fit very well, and she feels like, I look like a dork. She's got to meet someone she doesn't want to talk to, and so Havilar's next to her. She's like, oh my God, like stop doing that, you look like a weirdo. And they're trying to like brush it out. So I love that she's doing that. She's got the cute little blush and she's like, oh my God. It's so perfect.
Yeah, credit to the amazing work that Alexis does on the GIFs, because she knocked both of those out of the park. So good. Let's see. Follow up about the languages. As a lapsed Assyriologist, I think I'm pronouncing that right, I can assure you that for the most part, what you did with Untheric was linguistically correct, and the books are good too.
Yay! I enjoy that they describe themselves as a lapsed Assyriologist. You will always be an Assyriologist in your heart.
Let's see. Is a question from Sir Lionel. Is Gerard Thymar just a multi-floor pyramid, or are those floors more like balconies with the center of the pyramid being open top to bottom?
The second one. It is, there are living quarters built into the walls, and then there are balconies that project out over the center and walkways. It's one of those things where you read it and you're like, that sounds cool. How in the world did they build this in a short amount of time? But the nice thing about D&D, you go, it's magic.
Yeah.
I gave them an extra like artifact of the Titans from a beer that makes stone leap out of the ground. So definitely that's what happened. They built it in 10 years, even though it's bigger than the Great Pyramid, I'm pretty sure. Okay. I had to do calculations for that book, actually. I sat down and I figured out how big the base of Gerard Thymar would have to be so that I could work out like whether it was reasonable to say like someone could be here and not make it to this place in a certain amount of time. And so somewhere on my computer, there's a note file that says Gerard Thymar math.
We've got a question from Zerd99101. Quick question: why is Farida more human-looking instead of a bluish tint from normal tiefling?
So tieflings come in lots of different colors, actually. It was, I think, portraying them as red-skinned, or I've seen some purple. The red is the most common one. Was sort of en vogue, right? But they've always been able to cope. You can be any color, especially since tieflings, at least the type of tiefling that Farida is, which I always call an Asmodean tiefling, is sort of a curse, I guess, but it's genetically dominant. So any child of an Asmodean tiefling is an Asmodean tiefling, but they're still going to have traits of their other parent. So if you are a perfectly normal Tarami person and you have a child with a tiefling, your tiefling might have dark skin. Your tiefling child might have dark skin, or they might come out with purple skin or something if your spouse is purple-skinned tiefling. But for Farida and Havilar, they've always had kind of medium brown skin, and that's another thing with that I had to learn that I have to tell the artists, because tieflings are red in a lot of the art. It's like, no.
Well, and I think in our even in our initial passes with Farida, I think we did a little bit of work fine-tuning that skin tone.
Yeah, because I think too, because a lot of the reference art is still a little, like the lighting on the adversary cover makes her look very kind of purple.
Yeah,
it was more purple originally.
Well, because I think a lot of times they have like a fire effect, and so that lights her skin in a certain way.
That's true.
Would you agree that the brownish color that we've got for her skin tone in our game is pretty close to what you'd target?
Oh yeah, I love it. I think you guys did a really, really good job.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
That is definitely one of those things that I got. I started to get a little more like, no, like this, guys, about, because
Yeah.
I want it to look right.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's really something that we try to reinforce with our content creators when we start working with those characters. Is a lot of people, especially when they're working with another group, and you alluded to this a little bit earlier when talking to the artist. You're like, oh no, just a little change here, and trying to make it seem not like you're trying to take over or second guess them. But no, with us, we want to hear if we're doing it wrong, we want it right. So we were super excited to work with you with her.
I like too, you got her nose right, because I think that's when I have not always sort of fought for that. She has kind of a prominent nose, got a little bit of a bend to her nose, and frequently, a lot of times when people draw female characters, they give them these little tiny noses. And so that was one thing I was like, do you mind fixing this? And they're like, yes, let's do it. It was great.
Let's see. We got a couple more questions here. Are you familiar with dice camera action?
Vaguely. I haven't actually watched them, but they're on my list of things to watch. And hire. People say they're good. So.
Yeah, no, they're a great group. They're run by Chris Perkins over at Wizards of the Coast, and they've been running for 3 years now. We've got a couple of characters in the game, and one of the questions was if Freeda met Strix, who's another Tiefling warlock, would they get along?
I don't know enough about Strix to know for sure, but I know Eric Jordan frequently, when he's talking about Freeda and Strix, will post the gifs of them, of her eating the cookie, and we were joking on Twitter about them having a tiefling tea party. But I don't know, because there's so many ways to be a warlock. She looks nice.
That's awesome. Let's see, and you touched on this a little bit, but a question from Arkan Sunseeker was, do you play any D&D? And you spoke about how you DM'd at that convention, but do you play a regular game?
I do. I play a game. I played a game for quite a while that we just wrapped up. Partly because it was, so I mentioned Susan J. Morris earlier, who was my editor and is my friend. She's the DM, and it's based on a world she created, but then she wrote a novel based on that world and changed it, because obviously what works in the game isn't necessarily going to work in a novel. You have to make, especially if you're using 5e rules, and you have to make space for all of these different races, and you're like, that's actually a lot of things to cover, and I don't want to do that. So she was kind of getting a little burnt out. She's like, I need a break. So we wrapped it. We saved little Vigilant Severin, who I don't even know how to describe what her job is, but my paladin thinks she's amazing and would like to be her when she grows up. But now we're going to start playing. On Friday, we're going to make characters for Invisible Sun, which I've never played before. But it will be an interesting and exciting experience because it looks gorgeous. And I just started playing in a game with another Forgotten Realms author, Eric Scott DeBee, that is Forgotten Realms game, actually. And so my character in that is a Rishemi witch, except she's actually a warlock. She's lying about being a witch because she is a garbage fire. Cecilia is the kind of friend where you're not entirely sure why you're friends with her, but she's very good at talking you into things. And then one day you're running from the cops and you were like, what am I doing? But then the next morning you're getting pancakes. So she's definitely the opposite of Freeda in a lot of ways. And some hopefully entertaining twists ahead. But yeah, so those are the two things that I play right now. And it sounds like actually my brother-in-law is going to get the Keep on the Borderlands 5e book, so that my son can play D&D, proper D&D, for the first time over Christmas break.
That's awesome.
So we may be playing a lot of D&D in the next week.
From a personal standpoint, how was No Thank You Evil? Because I've got the box set, and I was planning on reading it and running it for my daughter over Christmas.
It is amazing. How old is your daughter again?
6.
6, perfect. So the thing I love about it is that my son is 7, so they're about the same age. And when we started playing, he got into games very early, and he understands rules, and he understands waiting, and he understands sometimes you lose. No Thank You Evil it's very much framed as you're not going to lose, right? They're not going to fail hard, right? And if they do, there's like recovery points. But it encourages them to be creative, and it really made him kind of open up to the idea that he could just make up something. He gets really shy about, like, I might pick the wrong thing. But I noticed when he was very little, we would play a game that I called Car D&D, where he made up a character, Issy the Tiefling Fighter, which was his nickname for himself. Issy. And so Issy the Tiefling Fighter, and I'd be like, okay, you're walking down the path, and there's a path that goes to the lake, and there's a path that goes to the mountains. Where do you want to go? And I would just tell this story. And anytime I tried to even make something not go right, he would just grab the story and tell me how everything worked out fine. And it wasn't like, okay, this didn't work, so now how do I adapt? And I feel like with No Thank You Evil, he got a little braver about taking control of the story. And actually, we got the booklet. Oh gosh, Shadow will kill me. I can't remember the name of it. The booklet about being a guide, letting the kids run the game. And he ran one of the pre-designed adventures. Wow. And he was very nervous, but he did it. And on this trip, we had some long car rides because Joshua Tree is a million miles from the airport. I was like, why don't we play Car D&D again? And I've noticed, like, he's a lot braver about sort of like trying a thing, and it's okay if he doesn't work out, which like bodes well for playing real D&D, because he's still like, I got hit? What? I'm like, it just happens, man. You're a paladin. You're supposed to get hit. That's your job.
So I didn't get what you meant by Car D&D at first, because I was like, what, are we role-playing that you're going to get into a car? Like, where's the story going? No. And now that I know that it's car ride D&D, I'm stealing that. I'm straight up appropriating that. So
for what I do now, what I did for him when he was little was just tell a story and then let him make decisions and then tell him what happened. And then like encourage him to like add to it if he could. But now what I've done is I will say, okay, pick a number between 1 and 20 and you have to come in within this many of it. So it's sort of like a die roll.
Oh, okay.
And then you can come within 1 if it's something that's pretty tough, or within like 3 or 4 if it's pretty easy. If it's like impossible, I'm like, you have to guess the number I'm thinking of right now. But yeah, so it's a little exhausting mentally, because like I can't read in the car. I'm not prepared for this. I'm just making it up on the fly. But fortunately, kids are usually an easy audience, so it can be a little stupid, and it's okay.
Yeah, and it's so much better than I Spy with My Little Eye, that thing from a mile back.
Yes. Mine has a tendency to want to play 20 questions, and then he picks things like the universe, the word and, stripe. God. Like he's the worst.
He's a monster.
Oh.
Well, I think that is a perfect point to let you get back to your monster husband and your family on vacation. But thank you so much for coming to join us.
I do want to be clear. The child is the one that chooses things like the word and.
Oh, yes. It was your husband.
7-year-old. That's the one doing it.
Okay.
I created this monster.
Well, then, I'm sorry I called him a monster, but still, that's amazing. Those are good choices, though. I mean, if you're trying to make it really tough, it's much better than, the car we're sitting in.
Right.
But is there anything you want to talk to the audience about? Places you're going to be at next, projects that are coming up, anything?
I don't have any conventions on my schedule at the moment. I might be at Gen Con. I have to work out some non-writer life kind of things for that. I have some short stories coming out, and I don't have dates for them mostly. But I have a story in Monarchies of Mao, and I have a story in the Blue Rose anthology Sovereigns coming out, not too distant future. Okay. And other things are percolating, so wait and see.
Folks can follow you at Aaron M. Evans at Twitter to find out more info?
That is probably the best place, yes.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming to join us. I really appreciate it, and as always, it's amazing to chat with you.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to be here.
All right. You have
Everybody enjoy Blast.
Have a great rest of your vacation.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Now let's see if I can cancel the call. All right. Aaron, you still there? Still there? No? Cool. Oh, hey, so I don't think I have a screen with just me and the game. So we're just going to pretend like the Aaron thing isn't here. Oh, I think I can make it go away. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not the normal live stream person, and we're just trying to put this together with duct tape because Dylan has the office plague. So give me 1 second to figure this out. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put it on game view for a second. We are playing through the Warden free play of Simmerl. I'm going to be back in just a moment to talk about all sorts of game questions. It looks like there's plenty of game questions here for me to talk about over the next hour. We may have to take a quick pause. I'm going to double check on that. We've got some stuff going on in the background, and I will be right back. All right, everybody. Sorry about that. I had to run to the washroom. I think I had half a pot of coffee this morning. It's been a coffee morning. So let me go ahead and make Aaron go away. Bye, Aaron. Thanks for hanging out with us. It was awesome. I love hanging out with Aaron. She's got so much energy, and it is infectious. Okay, so now we are on our regular part of our stream. Let's go through a bunch of stuff. We got a lot of stuff going on this week, guys. We've got we just launched on PlayStation on Tuesday. Folks have been really enjoying it. We're loving seeing the feedback of people playing on their consoles. We're prepping for the Xbox launch tomorrow, and the Xbox launch is going to coincide with this awesome console launch celebration, unlocking in 21 hours. This is going to be available on every single platform: Steam, iPads, Android tablets, PlayStation, and Xbox after it launches tomorrow. Every day, you're going to be able to come back and select one of these chests, and each chest is different. Every chest has 4 items that are chosen by the CNE team. Every day is going to be a different chest, so if you miss the chest, you just won't get it. So you gotta log in. You don't have to close the game and open it up. If it's just running, you can just jump in as soon as the timer's done. It'll be available to select, and you'll get some awesome free stuff to help us celebrate coming out on PlayStation and Xbox. We're super excited that we're going to be able to be on consoles. It's awesome, and if you collect 4 out of the 7 celebration chests, not only will you be able to claim 5 more gold chests to help gear your crew up, but we've also got an awesome GE for Arcan, or New Arcan, which everyone's been loving. Additionally, we've opened up the Founders Pack on all platforms, including PlayStation and Xbox once it releases. It's normally a $50, more than a $50 value. It's got the 42 chest pack, which is normally a $50 DLC, as well as a skin for Celeste, a new familiar, Iris, from our logo, and a whole bunch of stuff. 5,000 gems, a buff for a week for 50% more gems from bosses, and a bunch of potions and contracts to help kickstart your game. If you're an existing game player on Steam, iPad, or Android tablet, this is just gonna jump up your item levels on everyone. If you're new to the game on PlayStation, Xbox, this is your go-to thing to grab, go-to DLC item to grab. It's gonna help gear up all your characters and really propel your play. And I hope everyone likes it. We worked really hard to make it a really great discount. And we're really excited about it. We love bringing out new DLC packs. We love bringing out new skins. As you heard me talking about with Aaron, we've got a lot of fun skins. We've been putting them out at different cadences. Undead Celeste is our next one, and we're excited about making fun skins like Pirate Brunor and Party Time Jarlaxle with his awesome balloon sword that Adam Kosh made. It's just amazing. I love too when the baddies are right at the side of the screen. So when they're like right here and Jarlaxle jumps behind him and all you can see is like the balloon sword popping out of the side. It's so good. So funny. Oh, cool. You can't see my mouse. All right. So let's get down to business talking about the game. We are on 3 different platforms right now. We are broadcasting on Mixer, we are broadcasting on Steam, and we are broadcasting on Twitch. So we got a lot of fans watching, a lot of fans chatting, and we got some questions. So let's see. From Lord XAP, when will the PC version see a UI update? That's going to be in 2019, hopefully the early end of 2019. Obviously, all of our efforts over the past couple of months have been to work on this console and gamepad UI. For folks that are on Steam, you can access this UI as long as you have a gamepad. You can go ahead and go into the settings menu. Come on. Where's the button? No, that's the wrong button. That's the right button. I'm still getting used to it. You can go into the settings menu and display in gamepad UI mode. And then you'll be able to play with a gamepad just like this. And it's a lot of fun. You can rapidly level up characters, which is pretty cool. They also have these cool new portraits, new layout for how we're showing equipment and your upgrades, which I've heard nothing but excitement from players about. We think this is, you know, UI 2.0. Like this is the next iteration of the UI, and we're going to be looking to incorporate some of the learnings we took from this UI into the base UI. I don't know that the base UI is going to look exactly like this after a revamp, but our goal is definitely at the very, very, very least to incorporate these portraits into the gamepad mode, or into the main UI mode. Bloody August asked, why no Switch version? Well, that's a good question. I love the Switch. We actually just had a Smash Brothers tournament over lunch, so we love the Switch, but you know, one step at a time. Over the course of a week, we will have launched on 2 brand new platforms that Codename Entertainment has not launched on before. So it's been a lot of work, and Peter Minter, our lead developer on this project, has been working months to get this out on PlayStation and Xbox, and it's been a monumental feat. We've had at various times almost everyone in the office kicking in and helping on this project. So let's get PlayStation and Xbox out first, and then we'll talk about what's next. Let's see. I'm not going to pronounce that name because I'm just going to butcher it. I wonder if Justin has considered a remote shock collar. I'm going to read these questions first from now on. I wonder if Justin has considered a remote shock collar on Chris for whenever he is about to spoil something. I pray that he hasn't, because I like spoiling stuff. I think it's fun. And you know, I think you guys think it's fun too. So I think we should keep doing it. And no one should ever talk about the Akshay Alarke. Is the undead Celeste referenced in the module of Tomb of Annihilation, or is it that Neverwinter online event? The inspiration for Undead Celeste came from our friends over at Neverwinter, the D&D MMO. In their M12 module, where they're on Chult, Celeste actually dies, and she has to get resurrected as an undead, and it's a truly conflicting thing for her. So when we were thinking about what skin to do for the Founders Pack, we wanted to make sure it was an early champion, so players that are just getting into the game can have fun with the skin right away. So we already had one for Brunor, so we were deciding between Naeli, Jarlaxle, Calliope, or Celeste, and we landed on Celeste, and we had the opportunity to emulate the moment in Neverwinter where Celeste is an undead. So we're gonna do fun skins like the Giant Boo costume and Party Time Jarlaxle. We're gonna do thematic skin like Pirate Brunor from Liar's Night. He was dressing up in a costume. We're gonna do lore-based skins like Undead Celeste. Or maybe an update to Strix when she's a bee stinger. I don't know. So we're going to have a lot of fun with skins, and I hope you guys are enjoying them as well. Let's see. Will the Undead Celeste skin also change the race? Like, could you get one more bonus for Ishi's non-human adjacent to her? That's a good question. At the moment, the skins are purely cosmetic. We did not look into doing mechanical or biographical changes with the skins. It's an interesting concept. Maybe we'll address that with a future skin update. But right now we're focusing on the skins being cosmetic only. But that's not to say that we can't evolve things going forward. So yeah, great question. Why don't you guys do this really nice UI on the PC version for all the fans supporting you guys? Well, we do, Trollocs HD. If you have a gamepad, you can go to the gamepad UI and play the game just like this. If you don't have a gamepad, like I said, we're going to be trying to incorporate some things of this UI into the base UI. I don't know if it's going to look like this. One of the really great things that I love about this UI is that it opens up this top area that's normally covered by the UI and allows you to see a lot more of the background work that our great artists have worked on. Now, I know in the base UI, you can actually hit the plus and minus button up here and make the UI go away. But I love that we're able to really see a lot more on this UI, and I hope, however we implement a change in the main UI, we can try to do that. Because one of the things that our artists work the most on is backgrounds, and obviously they put a lot of love and a lot of care into it. And I want to make sure that that everyone gets to see the awesome work that they do. Let's see. In the name of all those without a gamepad, could we have a fancy mouse cursor? The question is, if you switch to gamepad UI, can you use the mouse? And right now you can't. Hotkeys will still work, but you can't use the mouse right now. And I don't know. It's a good question. It's one of the things we'll be looking into in 2019 once we're out on both the consoles and we can sort of take a breather and see what sort of quality of life improvements we can do. But I'm super glad that everyone's loving the console UI. Adam Kasha, our director, did a ton of work with Peter and Jacob to really make this look awesome. they spent so much time on it. I can't overstate the work that they did enough, because it was and continues to be amazing, and I'm glad that everyone loves it. And keep asking us questions. Keep asking us about updates to the main UI. If you've got a gamepad, play with gamepad mode. Have fun with it. We're going to continue to update it, and we're going to see what's next. Everything's been focused on this week. This week has been a big week for us, and for the past couple of months, everything has been focusing on this week and launch on the consoles going well. So for those that are joining us from PlayStation, for those that are anxiously awaiting the Xbox build tomorrow, thank you. Thank you for coming and hanging out with us. Thank you for playing. Thank you for supporting us. And most of all, I hope you're having fun. Question from Capricorn Cross: when is the PS4 version out in the UK? We're going to be evaluating the areas that we're releasing in on console in 2019. Again, we're launching on 2 brand new platforms for us in about a week's time. So it was a massive undertaking to begin with. And launching in other locales is different approval processes, different ratings that we have to get. We have to get a PEGI rating. And there's just a lot more overhead that comes with outside of Region 1 or Canada and the US. So we're getting the game out in Canada and the US, and in 2019, hopefully we can reevaluate and expand to other areas. So folks that are in the UK and Australia and the Philippines, we hear you. Keep asking us. We will continue to try and expand our audience as much as possible. So we're glad you're here with us. We're sorry that we're not out yet outside of Canada and the US, but the console launch is specifically Canada and the US at this point because it's new to us, and we wanted to make sure we had the best possible launch. Console celebration starts tomorrow, right? Yes, it does. Anyone that can open the game right now can see the console celebration notification, and you will be able to collect your first chest in exactly 21 hours, 43 minutes, and 20 seconds. And I hope you'll enjoy all the freebies that we threw in there. We really wanted to celebrate with the new console players. We really wanted to celebrate with everyone that's been with us for the past year and 3 months. Yeah, 3 months, because it's December, because 2018 is crazy and it's on fast forward. I feel like I drank a speed potion for 2018. It just keeps going. Let's see. Is there plan to port the game to phones or just tablets? That's a great question, Zulatek, and it's an opportunity for me to address something that a couple of our players have been asking. When we put the game on tablets, so iPad tablets and Android tablets, we knew that the UI, and we're talking about the base PC UI, works on bigger screens, but the smaller the screen gets, the more difficult the user experience is. Some of the touch points are just very, very small, and it's just not the greatest experience. And so that's why when we put out the game on Apple and Android, we made it tablet only. So only iPad on Apple and only large and extra large screens on Android. Now, we've recently come up with a bit of an issue because Samsung updated the metadata for someone. I'm not blaming Samsung. Someone updated the metadata for Note 9 phones, which are the larger. I don't think they're actually phablets, but they are the larger screen. And so we've had a bunch of players that were able to download the game on Note 9s and play and have a ton of fun, that when an update came out last week, they were suddenly told that it was no longer available. And I can assure you that that was not us that took that functionality away. What happened was, on Android, we've opened the games up to large and extra large screens. And previously, the Note 9 was categorized as a large screen, which is why you were able to use it. When the metadata switched, it changed to a normal screen, which meant that players that were previously able to access the game now had a restricted phone that wasn't able to access the game. Personally, I want to sincerely apologize to all of our Note 9 players that haven't been able to play the game. Know that we have been working behind the scenes to figure out a solution for those players and for other players that have been asking for phones to come out to the mobile market. I hope that we will have something to announce about that by early next week. But know that we are exploring a couple of different options at this moment. And Note 9 players, we hear you. We will do right by you one way or another. And to anyone else who has been able to play the game on an Android device that is now unable to, we're working on it. So hopefully we'll have an announcement about that sometime next week. We know that it is a high priority issue, and we don't want you to feel like we're not listening to you, because we are. So hold tight, and hopefully we'll have some more news. But for a second, I want to talk about Cymril, because as you can see, I'm playing through the free play of Cymril, which is the Warden free play. So I'm going to get a Warden chest. But you can see on this screen it started to snow, and then suddenly we've got snow on the ground. With the Cymril update, Cymril starts a bunch of snowy backgrounds for us. Our resident background expert Alexis was able to go through and take out all the snow versions that we had done programmatically through the effects system, and actually redraw them and add in snow. So you'll see all of our snowy areas in this adventure have been updated, and you're going to see that with Winter Shield, you're going to see that with Midwinter, and in the same way that we've been giving a TLC pass to every adventure, the snowy backgrounds got an update. We've still got this awesome effect-driven snowflake that Mark, one of our developers, had worked on, but the backgrounds have all been redone by Alexis to add snow, and I think it looks really great. I hope you do too, and you're going to continue to see those updates going through. Additionally, we updated some of the dialogue in Cymril. You'll see Wolfgar has a rather prominent voice in this adventure. We thought that was pretty cool. Let's see. Sorry, this is a really long question. Okay, I'm just going to read the question and we'll roll with it. Baron Stormguard asks, okay, so since Chris is the streamer, I will put a question/comment into the mix when he returns. While I realize Idle Champions is just an idle game with a D&D skin, okay. Some of the issues with HP scaling in the game just have gotten magnified by the shielding, healing, and tanking update. Like pre-shielding, healing, and tanking, Birdsong had a tiny fraction of the hit points for equivalent gold compared to someone like Dadius, in spite of Birdsong being a class that gets D6 hit points and Dadius D4 hit points in D&D. Post shielding, healing, and tanking, it does seem odd that most fighters and rangers, and then we lost the rest of the question. So to address the concern, one thing that I want to start out with is I don't think that Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realms is just an idle game with a D&D skin. I think that there's a lot of depth that this game has that other idle games don't have, and I'm really proud of the strategic and tactical depth that this game has. In regards to the health scaling for the shielding and tanking bonus, I want to point out that this is not a direct translation of 5e. Your concern, Baron, is noted, but in our attempt to make the health numbers a little bit more grokkable, we did address it from a class and race standpoint. So the base core hit points that everyone starts with, it has two modifiers based on them. One, their constitution score, and originally based on the type of armor they were having. So someone with scale mail would have a little bit less of a boost than someone with chain mail or someone with plate mail. And so everyone's sort of core hit points were modified by those two variables. I know that Justin worked on a couple of more behind the scenes tweaks, but we did try to make it understandable why certain characters would have more hit points than others, and that is built by either their constitution score or the armor that they're wearing. And from there, there's upgrades as you go along based on the type of tank that you have. So it's not going to be perfect because it's not a straight translation of D&D 5e, but we did in the Shadling and Hanking bonus. Justin and I sat down and we really wanted to give that base starting hit point more of a grokkable understanding why certain characters have more hit points than others, and we based it not only on the Constitution score but also the type of armor they have. And I hope that we've gotten a little bit closer to what you would expect. And obviously, as we continue to look at HP scaling, we'll take those things into account. So I appreciate the question, Baron. Evil Guacamole asks, I have the no blood option on, but the new event has snow rats that bleed when clicked. Can that be fixed? The snow rat, which some of you may find skirting around, is the regular rat with that looks like he fell down a hill and has a snowball wrapped around him. And he's adorable and he's awesome. And let's click him. Quick. Yes, he does have blood. And I do have blood disabled right now, so we'll definitely pass that along. It's probably just an artifact based on the fact that this was a new familiar that we tossed in for the new update. And it's probably just got a flag that needs to be cleared. So thanks for that comment, and we will hopefully be able to get that fixed rather quickly. Question, any ETA when the game will come to the EU for PS4? Again, we're going to be looking into it in 2019. Our goal was to actually get a game out on PlayStation, and we've achieved that goal. And now that it's out on PlayStation, we're going to be looking to expand the territories that it's available in. Because no matter where you are, if you want to play the game, we want you to play the game. Translations might be a little bit challenging, but we're going to try and open it up to more locales that are used to English-speaking games. Let's see. Is there any news about the spiked shell / hex interaction from Silisa? Yes, Erica has reminded us about that in our daily stand-ups. All of our dev work right now has been focused on locking tech for our build for the holidays. For those of you that don't know, Codename shuts down from the Christmas to New Year's, like some companies do. We're very lucky to have that benefit. But what that means is after the 14th, not only do submission windows close for our platforms, but also we're not in the office. So for the past month or so, we've been sort of crunching our timeline to make sure that our build update tomorrow covers the next 2 or 3 weeks of content, because we still want to continue to put out weekly content even though we're not in the office. So all of our tech has been focused on getting things locked for Winter Shield, getting things locked for the Tomb 8 update, which is going to come out in 2019, and also the update for next week, which is going to be some Dragon Heist and Grand Tour variants. So we're focused on that right now. We are aware that there's a weird interaction with Spiked Shell and Hex. I can't say exactly when we're going to fix it, but we're aware of it, and as soon as we have cycles, we will look at it. Mini Stress says, I sure hope there's a notification on the main screen so you don't have to open that console celebration banner every day. I forgot one last time, even though I was logged in every day. Due to launching the consoles and squeezing in tech time to make sure that we're not running on crunch, one of the things that we really pride ourselves on is not running 10, 12, 13-hour days constantly. So most of the console celebration tech is reused from the anniversary celebration. So I don't know that there's going to be a pop-up notification down here or in the notification area up here that will remind you that you have a chest. Unfortunately, on Friday and for every day for the next few weeks, or for the next week, you are going to have to open up the console celebration to grab the chest. And I'm sorry about that. But we will look to potentially add in notifications for daily rewards that we're doing like this in the future. So that is a good bit of feedback, and I appreciate that. Question, do the 5 gold chests in the celebration come as a pack? That is, do they include a guaranteed shiny card? That is a great question. I do not have the answer to that. Because that's done on the back end. I believe they will come in as a pack. But I can't guarantee it. Don't quote me on that. I will find out. And I will post that to Discord after this. And for those of you that aren't on Discord, if you want to join, that's where some of our more dedicated players are and where our community's really grown. You can go to Discord at discord.gg/idlechampions. Let's see. Scrolling down. What time? We've still got a half hour left. What do we got? Are there any surprises in the chest? Hashtag blame Chris. Why would you blame Chris about surprises in the chest, Be-Back Error? There are not surprises in the chest, except that they're different than the anniversary celebration items. It's not the same ones every day, although I did use that matrix to organize things. There are health potions in the chest, so that's a new thing. Let's see. Is it on the workbench to make it possible to open multiple chests at the same time? I've got over 300 at the moment, and I really don't want to open them separately. Yes, it is on the workbench. It is not a high priority item at the moment because, as I've mentioned multiple times, and for the rest of the stream, I'm just going to say cause a console launch. But as I've mentioned, we've been devoting every bit of time for the past couple of months on console and getting that out, while still doing our weekly updates for all of our existing platforms, and also while squeezing our timelines to make sure that you know, people didn't come back from the holidays ready to murder me because I made them work too much before the holidays. So yes, opening up multiple chests is in our agenda of things we want to do, but we also want to with opening multiple chests, it begs the question, is it just opening and showing you if you got epics or rares? Do we just not show duplicates but show non-duplicates? What does that look like? Like, there's a lot of questions that come along with what does multi-chest opening look like. And so that's something that I hope we can address in early 2019, because we do hear you. We have a stand-up every day where Eric, our community manager, goes through the items that have been requested and the community's talking about. Even, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Even if it's something that she talks about every single day. She is a wonderful advocate for you guys, and she continues to remind us about the things that we may throw on the back burner in the back of our head, but are still super relevant to everyone's enjoyment of the game. So hopefully we'll look at that shortly. Hey, Chris, what are you going to spoil today? What am I going to spoil today? Well, I just told you a couple of spoiler things that we hadn't talked about before. Props if you caught those. Is there anything I want to spoil? Not at the moment, but I just peppered some spoilers in, and I will find avenues to do that again before the end of the stream, because I don't have my shock collar on, and hopefully Justin wasn't listening when that was requested, because he might actually do that. We've got White Elephant next week, and if a shock collar shows up, I'm just gonna run. Let's see. How do you pronounce Guinevere? It's pronounced Guinevere. Let's see. Is Warden from Eberron or a transplant to Faerun? If the latter, ignore the next part. If he's from the former, does that mean we're going to get other D&D setting characters? Warden is from Eberron. How he got to the Forgotten Realms is a little hand-wavy, but he is originally a character that was from Eberron, and the more that D&D opens up previous settings officially through things like the DM's Guild and Adventurers League, the more opportunity we have to play in those pools as well. Now, we're not going to move the game to Eberron or to Dark Sun or to Greyhawk, but as D&D starts to open up some of these settings, we have a little bit more leeway to pull characters in from them. So he is an Eberron character that is now in the Forgotten Realms, and I think Dylan did an amazing job on the design and on the character's backstory. Seriously, if Dylan has more time, Dylan is going to get more work from me. Because I've been super busy, and he was super excited to design the Warlock, so I was like, you know what, go for it. And he did an amazing job, and I am all about empowering people to do awesome, fun things that may be outside of their normal wheelhouse, but they really enjoy, because I think that's really important. So hopefully you guys will get another awesome Dylan character that maybe won't be as dark next time. We'll see. But yeah, I'm super proud about Warden. I'm really excited that folks are enjoying him. And from a personal standpoint, I'm super happy for Dylan. I think this is one of the first design projects that Dylan had, and I think he knocked it out of the park. So yay for the team growing. Let's see. On the balance pass, is there any plan to make healing more effective? Currently, all DPS upgrades are still the go-to to keep characters alive. Hopefully, our goal was that DPS versus healing wasn't as big of a change. Like, I think for Celeste, you're talking about 100% difference between either tanking, between either War Domain and Life Domain, whereas before it was a lot different. Like, you went to War Domain, you got so many more adjacent DPS buffs than if you went Life Domain, and we've definitely brought that down significantly. So whichever way you choose, there's a small boost, but it's not as egregious. So hopefully it makes that alternative choice a little bit easier to make, especially if you're at a tough level like the what's the I completed it, so it probably won't show, but let's see if I can pull it up. Event, the Unlucky Hunters variant. So the Unlucky Hunters variant is a tough variant. All the monsters start with 2 pieces of armor, so you either have to up click damage really fast, or you have to get multiple characters hitting, so that you can help them kill the characters. And that is definitely a variant where Life Domain could be very important for Celeste, so that she can help to heal characters as they're taking hits before the armor goes down. Let's see. Will you be able to purchase Iris separately anytime soon? I'd love to have her, but I don't need the full bundle. At the moment, the skins that we have released are only planned to be released in the method by which we release them currently. So Party Time Jarlaxle was the bonus for getting 4 chests during the anniversary celebration. Pirate Bruenor was the bonus for completing that variant for year 2 in, I don't remember which event. But those will be the avenues by which you can get them. So Pirate Bruenor will be able to be picked up next year. Whether or not Party Time Jarlaxle will be part of our anniversary year 2 celebration, I don't know. But having said that, we hope to have other opportunities to have these things available, whether it's in other bundles, or whether it's in flash sales, or whether it's in play-based redemption. It's just something that skins are so new for us, and familiars are so new to us. We haven't thought about those systems yet, or we have thought about the systems, but we haven't landed on what our implementation would be. So at the moment, no, there's no plans for having Iris outside of the Founders Pack. If and when we retire that Founders Pack and bring out a new Founders Pack in the future, that's something we'd address. But we would not be offering Iris or Undead Celeste separately while the Founders Pack is still available in the stores. Now, the Founders Pack, additionally, one thing I've talked about on the Q&A and on Discord is that the Founders Pack is not going to be on sale. It is already an insane deal, and I do not see it being in any of our sales going forward. So if you're waiting for the Founders Pack for it to be on sale, there are no plans to put it on sale. I believe this is, the way I look at it, is it is a constantly on sale bundle. It is always on sale. So I don't think that we would put it any more on sale. So where'd my questions go? We've got about 20 minutes left. Let's see if I can... Whoa. I don't know if I can get through all these. Let's see. How come we have so little oboe music in the game? I feel like there's a good opportunity we're missing. I can agree with that. I would love to have additional music and varying things up. Maybe that's something we can look into in the future. Will the tanking buffs be adjusted to account for a lower number of mobs parked at your tank? Compared to Gromma, Naeli, and Evelyn, compared to Gromma, Naeli and Evelyn are kind of lacking for actual tanking. Yeah, we're gonna take that into account. What we wanted to do is we worked behind the scenes on the tanking and healing update. Remember when I talked about how busy we've been and we've been working on the console? We also did the tanking and healing update, and that was a lot of work that Justin mostly shouldered. And we wanted to have it out in the wild for a while, before we really made any changes, unless there was something just egregiously that was a bug. So we're going to be reevaluating the tweaks that we made in the tanking and healing update when we start to talk about champion rebalancing in the new year. So there may be some small tweaks, but I don't expect big changes. But that being said, we're going to constantly be looking to reevaluate characters. And I think you've seen that with some of our updates to our Year 1 champions as their Year 2 event comes along. We did updates to Kron, we did a small update to Dadius, and obviously Gromma got a big update in the tanking and healing update. And for those that have been, picking on Gromma for so long, why you gotta hate on her for being so awesome now? I'm judging you. No. Let's see. I'm on PC and was wondering how many characters there are available to get in the game, and are they all available through free play, or do you have to buy some? That's a great question. Let me pull up an exact number for you. And hopefully you can't see this screen, because that would not be great. All right, so we currently have... what's our champion currently? Warden. We currently have... Oh, it's not very helpful. 4, 17, 21... I think we're at 35 right now. With plans to bring out new champions with every event this year. New evergreen champions. So we've got one coming in the Dragon Heist campaign soon, and one in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign. And the idea is that they are all available for free. If you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get Hitch. If you play in the events, you'll unlock the event champions. If you go into time gates, you'll be able to get those champions too. They're also available in the store, so if you don't want to wait, or if you've just been unlucky and you've been trying to get Strix for a couple of months and you haven't been able to, you don't want to wait for Festival of the Fools, you can get them. You can get her in the store. I think I have everyone. And let me pull up the store. Hang on. Bloop. Too many windows open. All right, so if I go to the store and I go, oh my gosh. Go to champions. Yeah, I don't have any, but normally if you're in the game, you can go to the store and the champions tab will have the champions that you don't have. And you can choose to purchase them as just the champions alone. You can purchase them as the champions with a few chests, or you can purchase them as the champion with a whole ton of chests. And that's a great way to upgrade and gear up your champions if you're not willing to wait till the event comes around, or time gates. Now we have time gates every 3 or so weeks, and each of those time gates gives you access to 3 champions. And you know what? Let's do it. Let's talk about time gates for a second. Time gates are a new feature we implemented in June, I think, and they're a way for players who missed an event or are late, or who have recently joined the game to get champions that they haven't had. Because what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to say, players, you either have to wait till Fest of the Fools, or you have to pay for Strix. No, we wanted to try and give free-to-play players as many opportunities to gear up those champions as well. So along the way, you'll collect these time gate pieces. I have 7. You need 6 in order to open a time gate. And when you open the time gate, you're going to have access to 3 champions. And as best as we can, you'll have 1 champion that you have, 1 champion that you don't have, and another champion. You may or may not have them. you'll see that in order to play through, you'll get 3 days. The gate closes in 2 days, 23 hours, and 59 minutes. You'll get 3 days to go through this character's adventure. And if we've updated the adventure with year 2, you're going to play the updated version. So when you go through and play Cimmeral again, you're going to get all those new awesome text changes and the backgrounds and the new distractions. By the way, has anyone seen the snowman distraction? Love it. It does a little dance and then it kind of implodes when you press it. But when you get a champion, you play through their adventure and you get to Area 50 to unlock a gold chest for them and the champion itself if you haven't unlocked them. And then you can go through again and get to level 75 to get another gold chest for them. And then you can play through a free play if you wanted to grind up some favor to make your transfer to the main deity's divine favor a little bit bulkier. Now, if you play through a champion, if you play through an event in a Founder's Gate, normally the target is 50 and 75. But whenever you play through an adventure, the next time you get that champion in the time gate, the next time you get the champion in the time gate, the targets will be raised by 25 levels. And so if I choose Deacon this time, the next time I get Deacon in a time gate, I'll have to get to Area 100 to get a gold Deacon's chest, or to Area 125 to get another one. Whenever you don't select them, that gets ticked down by 25%. So if I chose Caddy Bree for this time gate, the next time I got Deacon, his target would be 50 and 75. And every 3 weeks or so, we open time gates naturally, so players can jump into a time gate, grab a character they don't have, or jump into a time gate to get 2 gold chests for a character they already have, and gear them up. And so that way you have opportunities to gear them up in between events if you're a free-to-play player. And let's go back. Here we are. All right, let's keep going through these questions. These are great questions today. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us. I know I am not as great of a host as Dylan, but I try to hold my own, and hopefully I'm giving you the answers you want to hear. And if not, hopefully I've given you enough of an explanation as to where our thinking is and why we may or may not be going down a route that is requested. Jargnot asks a question: is there a chance of implementing a daily reward mechanic for players as an incentive to log in and be a regular player? I would love that. I thought that the High Rollers event was awesome because it gave me short-term rewards for playing and long-term targets to go for. And I really like that, but I know that some players found it triggered their anxiety a little bit. They felt like they needed to play through, and so I want to poll players. I want to talk to players. I want to get feedback from players. I know that I mentioned this a few weeks ago, and the event has come and gone, and we haven't gotten that survey out. Hopefully, we can get that out very early in 2019. We can evaluate some thoughts and give some thoughts to what a daily reward system would be, or what a version of the High Rollers event 2.0 would look like. Because I really enjoyed it. I love having daily rewards because it's a great way to, if I don't have a goal right now, like I'm maxed out, I'm running free plays to just grind for favor. It gives me another incentive to log into the game and restart an adventure. Question: can we get a Christmas tree treant familiar for next year? Maybe. That's a great idea. As we evaluate these things for year 3, I think. Familiar Christmas tree. Wait, a familiar. A Christmas tree treant familiar next year. Familiars are normally tiny characters, and a treant, I think if you ever called a treant tiny, that's a quick way to get stomped. So probably not a familiar for a Christmas tree, but I could definitely see a distraction that is a pine tree with snow on it that when you click it actually turns into a treant and turns into an awesome boss fight. And wow, we need to do that. That'd be really cool. Let's see. Have we seen a lot of traffic for the PS4 launch? Was it what you expected? We launched. The game came out. Players are playing. We're seeing a good number of players. We had some initial hiccups because the game wasn't available in the free-to-play section. Like if you were just searching the store, it didn't pop up. PlayStation was quick to help us with that. So now if you go to free-to-play, you can find us. So a lot of our early installs were you guys, were our players that were in our conversation sphere that jumped into the store and actually searched for it. Now it's available a little bit easier, and we're very happy with the results so far. The PlayStation players are a new breed of players. We're going to be watching how they interact and how they play with the game, and we're really happy with the PS4 launch right now, and the next target's the Xbox launch. Let's see. In your opinion, for someone that has started not too long ago, what's a good build to base your characters around Dadius? That's a great question. Focusing on characters with high wisdom is a good idea. Hang on, let me highlight the game so I can jump in. Oh, excuse me, I'm so sorry. Apparently, I need another pot of coffee today. Let's see. So if we look at Dadius, the best way to figure out a good formation is to go to the Idle Champions wiki, to talk to folks on Discord or in the in-game chat, and to do a little read up on the character. So if you go to the details page, it talks about skill empowerment, affects all champions within 2 formation slots of himself. Place intelligence champions near Dadius to make use of his blunder. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. And chromatic orb does more and more damage the more times he casts the same element in a row. And the new update to Dadius has an ability that he gets at higher levels that will make it more likely for him to cast the same orb multiple times. But in addition to that, you can go down here and look at the upgrades and see the details. So, for example, skill empowerment tells you want characters with their intelligence stat of 14 or higher, and it's a smaller group right now, but that group's going to continue to grow. I believe the midwinter champion is going to have intelligence of 14 or higher. I am unsure if Neris has intelligence of 14 or higher, but more are coming into the game. So I'd focus on characters that have an intelligence stat of 14 or higher, characters that can help to buff Dadius. So Ashara with her human buff is a great one. And then looking at the different formation abilities and putting them in a really good spot to really maximize that damage, especially in high levels. All right, so we've got a few more minutes. Let me scoot through these last few questions. Can we get an Aasimar champion soon-ish? We've got plenty of tieflings, but we could always use a half angel. I'd love to get an Aasimar champion into the game. We'd love to expand the amount of races that we have in the game. Warden being a Warforged is a great example of that. So we're gonna continue to try and play a balance between streamer characters, lore characters, characters that synergize with existing characters, characters that create new synergies, characters that are existing races to help bonds, but also characters who are new races to create more diversity in the crew. And it's a juggling act. I made a joke with Justin today. He was looking at one of the variants that requires intelligence level of X or higher, and he's like, yeah, we don't really have smart characters in the first slot or the third slot. And I'm like, yeah, there's a whole bunch of juggling when it comes to not only who are the new characters, what stats do we focus on, what slots do they go in, how does that affect the meta, how does that affect variants. There's a whole lot of different things that go into picking new champions and also picking the slot for them. When do we get Mort as a champion? No info on that yet. Nothing to announce for the Talking Skeleton Head. Oath of Vengeance spec doesn't get a formation HP buff. Was that intentional or an oversight, and will it get added later? That is a Justin question. I do not know. Like I said, Justin did most of the heavy lifting on the tanking and healing buff as I was working on a lot of the scheduling and making sure that everyone got all their projects done before we reached our holiday party. Hopefully by the time our holiday party comes around, folks can relax, because we've been running pretty hot for a couple of months, and want to make sure that everyone has a chance to enjoy the holidays and not feel like we're running them ragged. Will you be adjusting the numbers on Barrowind's Winter Shield, the Healing Word achievement, as it is currently its old Calliope levels are ridiculous? More than likely, Justin's working on that tech right now, and we will have an update for you on Boxing Day when the event goes live, December 26th. We've got 5 minutes to go. I don't know if we have a show right after us, but I'm going to pretend like we do. Will Evelyn... Will we ever get default characters from third, like Lida, the Halfling Rogue? When we look at lore-based champions, or champions that are from another version of D&D, whether it's the core game or a digital game or a book, we try to balance all those things. We try to balance, is this a character that people will connect with? Is it a character that fits our meta? Does it grow a new meta? So there's a lot of questions that go into that. We don't have any specific plans for Lid of the Halfling Rogue, but know that we are constantly looking at new champions. We've got a rough timeline of champions for the next year or so, and we're just gonna keep putting out new champions as long as you guys are here playing. We're just gonna keep working hard on this game that we all love. So keep the requests coming in, because we don't want to pick champions in a vacuum. We think that Strix was a good choice. It was. People really love Strix. People love Holly. We get to talk to Holly tomorrow. Spoilers, I kind of hope Justin's still sick so I can hang out with Holly for an hour, because that'll be a lot of fun. I've followed her on Twitter, so it'll be awesome to get to talk to her. But honestly, I do hope Dylan feels better, so that way he can come back. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's where we're going to wrap up for today. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything huge. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to continue to broadcast Champions Play Champions for the next week. Tomorrow we've got an interview at noon Pacific time with Holly. Monday we're going to be talking with Ryan Hartman of Dinar fame. Tuesday we've got another Binwin Plays. Wednesday I believe we're talking with Violet about Ishii. Like we're gonna continue to stream every day on Steam, on Mixer, on Twitch. So keep coming back, keep asking questions, follow those content creators and ask them questions with their hashtag #AskThatCharacter name on Twitter. So we'll have some questions built in, and I hope everyone has a lot of fun. We set this week up as a week of celebration, getting to connect with us every day, getting to connect with the content creators every day, getting free stuff every day with the console celebration. So that's going to start tomorrow, and we're super excited about it, and we hope you're excited about it too. So as we get to the holiday season, as we get through this week of streaming, I would just like to give out a heartfelt thank you to all of our players, all of our new players, all of our existing players, all of our community leaders in Discord, all of our players who are chatting in Discord. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for sharing your D&D experiences for us, and I hope that everyone enjoys the game on PlayStation 4, which is out now, and Xbox One, which we're planning to release tomorrow. So thank you all for hanging, and have a great rest of the day.